So in the previous lecture, we talked about the unpaid balance method for calculating the interest due on a credit card loan. And when we saw that there was a problem with it, right? It doesn't take time into account. It doesn't matter if you make a payment on the 1st of the month or the 30th of the month, you end up paying the same in interest. And there was kind of a fairness issue there, right? You're supposed to be paying for the time that you have access to this money and the lender doesn't. So we need a method that's a little more fine-tuned, right? That drills down a little further into when things are happening. And we have one. It's this method called the average daily balance method, right? And you pause this if you need to, right? If you're taking notes or whatever. And you can kind of go through this scenario here. We have a credit card, you have an interest rate, and stuff happens. You have an initial balance, you use the card, and you make some payments on the card, and they happen at different times. All right, so here's how we're gonna do this, and this method actually takes up a little bit of room because I have to make essentially a little calendar, right? So if you're taking notes, go ahead and write this down. Then when I go to the next slide, it's going to be a lot smaller, and I'm going to take the directions off here so I have room to work. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the daily balance, literally the balance due on the card every single day of the month, right? And then we're going to calculate the average balance over the month, and that's what we'll use to calculate our interest rate. All right, so here I have my scenario, and I notice I did add a little something. I added the month, right? You notice we're talking about doing this in September. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to do a calendar, right? You know, September has 30 days, so my calendar here goes out to 30. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work out how much the balance was on every single day of the month. All right, so on the first of the month, the balance was $500. Right, so on the first, the balance was $500, and it stays $500 until the 10th of the month when I make the first purchase. All right, so it's going to stay 500. Now I quickly get bored with, right? So I'm going to just do a little arrow, right? It's going to stay 500 until the 10th of the month when we make a purchase. So on the 10th of the month, we buy $200 worth of computer stuff, and it goes up to $700. And it's going to stay there until the 18th of the month when I make another purchase. So it's going to stay at $700 until the 18th when I buy $150 worth of groceries. So at this point, it goes up to $850. And it's going to stay there until the 30th when I finally make a payment. So it's going to stay $850. It's going to stay there. Then on the 30th of the month, I make a $400 payment, and it drops down to $450. Okay, so what I need to do next, I need to calculate the average daily balance. And it's just an average. Right? I'm going to add up all of the individual balances. Then I'm going to divide that by the number of days. I'm going to divide by 30. So let's see. If I add up all of these columns here, that's 7,500. So that's 3,500. Then if I add up these, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 700s. That's 3,500 plus another 1,000. So that's 4,500. Let's see, over here, 850, there's 4 of them, 850 times 4 plus 700 times 3, that's 5,500. Here, there's 7 850s, so that's 5,950, and finally, this is 1,300. So if I add together all of these, they're kind of weekly balances, aren't they? Because they're 7 days each. That comes out to $20,750. 20,750, and I want the average daily balance. So that is this total divided by 12. Excuse me, I'm going to say I was slipped into months. It's that total divided by 30 because there were 30 days in the month. That is 691.67. So on average, I owe $691.67 every day. All right, now to calculate my interest, right, I'm going to use the simple interest formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time, and I'm going to use this average daily balance as the principal. 691.67 times 0.15, that's the interest rate. Now, the time, right, because I had a number of, I know the month, I know it's September, and there's 30 days in September, that 1 month was 365ths of the year. All right, so now you go to your calculator again, 691.67 times 0.15 times 30 divided by 365 is 852. We're going to round 850. It's 0.527, so let's call it 853. That is the interest that you owed at the end of the month, right? So the question is, what is the new balance? Right. Well, I know that my balance based on my purchases and payments is 450. So if I add the 853 to that, my final balance is $458.53. Okay, so I've got another one here and you can try this one, pause it, right, practice. It's practically identical to the last one I did. The only difference is I shifted the payment. Right now, we're making the $400 payment on the first of the month, right? Because I told you this is supposed to be taking into account when things happen. So let's see, right? Let's see what effect changing the payment date has on the final result. So I'm really going to do the same thing, right? I'm going to do all my daily balances. Now this time, I start with $500, just like before, and on day one, I make a $400 payment. So on day one, my balance drops to $100. And then we're going to do all the same things, right? I'm going to make a $200 purchase on the 10th. So on the 10th, it goes up to 300. It's staying 100 in here. Then $150 worth of groceries on the 18th. So on the 18th, it goes up $100 to $450. And then it's going to stay there. That was my last thing now, right? It's going to stay at $450 for the remainder of the month. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing, right? I've got $700 from this week. See, 300 times 5 is 1,500 plus those 200s. This is 1,700. Let's see, 450 times 4 is 1,800 plus 900 is 2,700. 450 times 7 is 3,150, and here I've got 900. So to get my average daily balance, add all of these up. 700 plus 1,700 plus 2,700 plus 3,150 plus 900. That's 9,150. And again, I'm going to divide by the 30 days in September. That gives me an average daily balance of $305. I'm going to calculate the interest the exact same way. Interest equals PRT. My principal is that average daily balance times 0.15, that's the interest rate, times 30 days out of 365, and you go to your calculator, 305 times 0.15 times 30 divided by 365 is quite a bit less. $3.76. Right, so now if you add that to the final balance here, now our final balance is $453.76. So that's less than half, more than half, right? That is less than half of what we paid by making the payment at the end of the month. Okay, so what's next? We've got one more topic to talk about, and again, it's another kind of loan. All right, this is what we're talking about. What's called an installment loan. Right, that kind of combines a number of things we've been talking about so far. It's like an annuity in the sense that payments are made regularly, right? But we are making payments to bring down the balance rather than bring it up because it's a loan, right? That's what payments do. They bring down the balance. These kind of installment loans, you see them most commonly in situations like car loans and home mortgages.